streaming has to come up.
Sorry, mine. You tell me.
Streaming has to come up. Just double checking.
Great, thank you very much. Awesome. Okay, I can start.
You can start.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lucy Robbins Wells Library Board of Trustee meeting for Monday, November 14th. Glad you're here. We're gonna start with some roll call. So Elizabeth, if you'd like to go through that.
Andy Brecker, Anna Eddy,
Here.
Colleen Crook, Iris Larson,
Here.
Leanne Mankey,
Here.
Scott McBride,
Here.
Maureen O'Connor Lyons,
Here.
Neil Ryan, Christine Shushan, Diane Sam,
Here.
Fiona York, here, Sheila Rowell. But I got Natalie.
I believe Natalie's here for Sheila.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Sheila had another commitment, so she asked me to join in.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Nagel,
Here.
Sharon Braverman. That concludes you all.
Okay, we have a forum. So we will move on to public participation. I don't see anyone from the public in the room. Is there anyone online?
Public, there is no.
Okay, that makes that quick. Then I'll move right into the town council liaison report. Dave?
I have not a lot to report, except I think while it's not specifically related to the library, it'd be of interest to you. We, just before this meeting, the town council had a special meeting. And as you well know, our town manager is leaving as of December 3rd. We selected an acting town manager for 90 days, beginning on December 3rd. The entire council in previous times has discussed this and came with a bipartisan support for James Kropinski, who's our present town manager, who will be acting as in that capacity for 90 days. The council has also approved and gone out, approved to have a subcommittee to be formed. They've met a couple of times to go out for a search, and that has just begun. Nothing has gone out to ask for applicants or anything like that, but that process has started. So Mr. Kropinski will be the acting town manager as of December 3rd and for 90 days. If things have not been resolved and a new town manager has been selected by that time, the council does have the right to extend that period of time. And that's where we stand at the moment. Nothing has changed in terms of our agreements with the library, whatever, and committees and whatever. And of course, you will probably know that the new revised charter has passed. And that's it.
Great choice for interim manager.
Yeah, I think we're in good hands.
Yeah.
And I remember when we did a search for a new library director.
I was
That was a
telling
lot of work,
Right. Lot of work.
and suddenly 90 days doesn't seem
Not an
anywhere
easy
near enough,
process.
so good luck. But I do think we're in good hands.
Is there going to be any kind of send off for Keith?
The policy has been, what I understand, not to have parties for anyone who's retiring or leaving. So I really don't know whether they will or not. It's not my responsibility. I know that has been the policy. That has happened when others have left or retired or whatever, not having a formal thing, and that's not my decision. So the answer is, I don't know.
Yes, they probably don't know. Somebody's leaving.
It gets sticky from an HR perspective, and as soon as you get an HR department, we'll probably have a hearing on that.
Yeah.
So it goes through. All right, any other questions for Dave?
Oh, I do. I'll be many further in appointing people to the committee for permanent building.
Brief answer, as far as I know, no. I know you've asked previously, and I've posed the question, they're looking, some have to have certain credentials, and as far as I know, at this point, no.
Thank you. So the other committees are in place still.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Going once, going twice? Three? Yeah, all right. Secretary's report. I have nothing to report. Thank you. Then at this time, I would ask for an approval of the minutes for last month's meeting. Or any comments on those? Before we,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
thank you, Anna.
I'll second Maureen.
Thank you, Maureen, for seconding.
That was the October 17th minutes.
Thank you. Any questions? Any comments? No? All right, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
I abstain.
Opposed? Thank you. That was Scott who abstained. Yes? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Please try to state your names at a time, when we're talking, whether we're in the group. Out on the line, and, so all those, I asked for all those in favor, and it looks like the majority carried that, so thank you very much. Review of the activities calendar. How come I have my computer and I have a whole bunch of paperwork? I didn't really make it into this century. So activities as they come up. Sorry. Go ahead, sorry, go ahead, I'll go through paperwork. So there you go, for November. We really should start thinking about the staff appreciation dinner for next year. It's actually really the dinner for last year and this year. What have you, we normally do that every other year, and with COVID, we've really fallen behind. Needless to say, the idea of everyone gathering together in a specific place didn't work. We were able to do a few small things to let the staff know how much we appreciated everything that they did for us, but I think it might be time for us to form a committee and figure that out. And Karen, I would ask that you be our liaison with staff and just find out, are they ready for something like that? And preferences, I know we've had preferences before, or asked, are they looking at doing a tour, or are they, I know lately they've really enjoyed just gathering together. So if you can get some feedback, I'd rather thank them in the manner in which they'd like to be thanked. So if you can get a little bit of feedback on that, that would be appropriate. We get a little bit of an update from Dave on what's going on with town council. We are low on council or on town representatives on the board. We have two Republican positions open. We also have two corporate positions open. I'm not pointing fingers anywhere, but if anybody knows of anyone who is interested, if anybody knows anyone that they could talk into being interested, talk to them, talk to us, and try to get things going from that end. So we are looking to fill those slots.
Yeah, it's not just us. I mean, all the organizations are having trouble filling slots.
I hear that throughout in many organizations that have volunteer groups, that it gets harder and harder to find folks that will make a commitment like that. You might get them for an afternoon, but you're not going to get them for the whole committee thing.
It's the companies can't even hire paid employees.
So knowing that, it's important that we all come to all meetings so that we have our quorums and work hard. Of course, I'm preaching to the choir, as they say, folks that are here are always here. So again, we do have some openings. Friends book sale also comes up because of the way the calendars happen. They had it last week, and I'm sure Natalie will give us an update on that when we get to the Friends area. And Hanel, we're trying to do Hanel again, and while I'm thinking of it right now, I just want to say that when I was at the Friends meeting, they talked about getting the Anita Wilson concert set up. And they had mentioned maybe springtime, maybe June, and I know sometimes we have Hanel events then, so all I'm saying is when people are trying to schedule somebody one way or the other, that our board, the Hanel committee and the Friends work together so that we're not either having them back to back or having a bit, trying to do it on top of each other. So we'll say about Hanel. I do have a hard copy of the committee assignments, and I can pass them around. We can look at them. If there's anything that you truly struggle with, let me know. C's on this list are for chairpersons. If you're surprised that you're on a committee, let me know, and we'll discuss it.
Don't question it, accept it.
One of the things that I wanted to mention is that race committee, we are all on race committee, but it doesn't count as one of your 3 committees. So however you want to say it, you have 3 committees plus race committee, or you have 4 committees and one of them is race committee. So you might have ended up with another one. If not, we'll look through as we go through. I know we have a lot of things happening in the facility side of things. Budget year is coming up and then it kind of peters off. And we're hoping that PAC and communications will be busy. So those are the areas that we're looking to truly get going. We do have our friends liaison pretty well filled out, and Anna did a nice job of setting up a schedule for folks. So when it comes to those committees, we're looking to be in pretty good shape there. All right. So that's that, and I'll move on to the treasurer's report with Ann Jenkins.
Okay, I sent out the report for period ending October 31st last week. It was a better month in the market, so the numbers do reflect that. We do have in the checking account, we didn't have a whole lot of activity in October, although November is starting to pick up. In terms of income, the only thing that came in was the art commission. There was typically when we have artists who display and sell, they give us a percentage part of the agreement. So that was what that is for those who are unaware. We did some basic purchases, and there's a larger purchase coming down the pipe for some toys that will come in November. And so the balance in the checking accounts and the unrestricted funds is $50,164.66. The money market with the investment firm Kingston is at $106,582.77. And in Santander money market, which is restricted funds, we currently have $40,717.54. For those who are interested, I have the paper filing. We're completely filed with the IRS for our fiscal year end 6/30, as well as our financial statements for the year. I did request they send us an electronic copy so I can put it on file here at the library as well. Scanning this will, my printer will die.
Well, you get a new printer now.
I have a small business printer and it still would go, oh no. We have a lot of attachments on our we did pay some bills since the beginning of November. One was the accountant fee, $2,200. He did go up. We typically were paying $2,000 for the last few years with Dean Spada and Rob Mathis as the accountant. But previously we were paying $3,000 a year, so we're still ahead of the game. But considering the costs and things, like 10% increase, I was not surprised to see that. We have the restricted funds are broken down as well. And I did send out a report to the executive committee and a couple other people who are involved in the investments on the restricted funds and getting together. I apologize, I've not sent out a date, but I would like to have a meeting where we can sit down and flesh out each of those funds and decide, because we have some funds that just are not being utilized, I think, because the descriptors are not clear. So therefore, we're not sure to use them, so they're just sitting dormant. Some are very explanatory, or the other are very, in terms of their a large print book fund is kind of self-explanatory, but I don't know that circulation is really aware that that's available, and nothing's been spent from it for years. So we need to start utilizing what we can and not draining the unrestricted funds that we can utilize without reservation.
Can I ask a question about that? How is it possible to have the code of like the coding so that whoever's submitting the orders or doing billing knows to put that in? Like, what's the, do you know what I mean? Like, what's the just?
I pay the bills, so you mean when they're.
Oh, okay, so they have to reach out to you and
They have
say,
to tell me where it's coming from. But
I
if-
gotcha.
if the go-to, for example, is just to say Memorial, that's where I get it from.
right,
But Memorial is made up of several different funds. And then there are other specifics, as I said, that we can particularly have. Children's has expanded into several different funds. So, and Bailey's very good about what she knows to get from. But then there are some other ones where people have actually left Memorial funds. They wanted them earmarked for specific things.
yeah.
But somewhere in the annals of time, the treasurer's file doesn't tell me what they're earmarked for, so nobody uses them. So I'm hoping we're going to pull all of our collective memories here and be able to pull on what some of these lesser known funds are. So we're utilizing things properly. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Leanne? On treasurer's report? No, online? Looking for any hands? No? Okay, thank you, Leanne, appreciate that. I know it's a lot of work, especially this time of year. Thank you for having that end of year done. I personally don't believe Leanne suits, so that's how she gets everything done. Library director's report, I'm gonna combine the directors and the assistant director's report. Unfortunately, Lisa is not feeling well, so she's not here tonight with us. But Karen, if you'd like to take over and do a combined report.
Okay, so we had talked about the fact that we were going to have some repair work done for, don't mind me, I need the glasses to see the document, but then I can't see you, so.
It's better than.
Anyway, so those repairs were supposed to start a little bit earlier this fall. They're now scheduled to begin November 21st. The project is expected to last up to 2 months. We're going to be starting on the first floor initially and then going upstairs. Because it's not quite the same time frame that we had expected, we may have to juggle some things. The children's takes a little bit of a break with their programming, and we were trying to sort of coordinate the work up there when they weren't going to have a lot of programming, but I'm not sure that's going to work out. So what will happen will be that we ultimately will not be able to make some of the rooms available for outside groups for a while, because we're going to need this room probably for some children's programming, the Lionheart room, and then we've got other programming too. So that's going to be coming. I know we've been talking about class visits. So we had 5 class visits during the month of October. The children's department has been very busy with these. Circulation staff they made over 90 new children's cards for elementary, middle school, and high school. And it really helped that the schools conducted a library card drives. So it's really been a push. I think we've been kind of talking about this within the schools, that for kids who don't have cards to get cards. In addition, and Natalie may talk a little bit more about this, but the Friends brought library card applications to the polls, and ultimately we ended up with about 75 applications that came back, which was pretty amazing. So, we're really happy with, how this is going, and we really have been working on getting card holders back, from the pandemic and stuff, and it just seems like people are really interested in coming back strong. Lisa Maston, some of you were there, gave an excellent presentation on library services to the town council during the month. Went really well. I don't know if you want to add to that, Diane, but we were really happy to have the opportunity to, have the town councilors hear us. And I think there were some questions that were good that were asked, and hopefully we were able to sort of convey a little bit more in detail about what we do, what we've been doing since the pandemic, and where we're headed now. I don't know if you want to add anything. Diane?
I think Lisa did an excellent job. It was a little bit different focus than our annual meeting, but again, she covered the material beautifully. And then, of course, they offered for me to say something. I never say no. And I mentioned a little bit about, it happened to be, that day happened to be the same day, I think, that folks had gone down to the Meriden Library and the renovations that they had done there. But I had mentioned how proud the town manager and other folks in Meriden were of the library renovations that they had done. And I had mentioned that our board has once again picked up and is starting to move forward and look with LDS to do the expansions and renovations, and that we're hoping to get together a quick lookbook and share more information with them. But Lisa was very well received. She had a beautiful presentation, and it's funny because even with the veterans on the board, there's always something like, oh, I didn't know that. I think each time we share information with them, there's one more nugget. And think of how many times even though we sit on the board, we might share information that we didn't know that was going on that night. So it was a very nice presentation, and the council was very gracious.
I think it was a great opportunity to fill in the blanks too about the pandemic activities. Because I'm sure a lot of people just figured everything came to a standstill. And that did not happen.
Just wanted to mention that.
Dave had
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
No, that's okay. Just a minor thing, that it was nice, aside from the presentation and everything, that indeed it was a mutual request that indeed the council members had asked to have you come, and it was a very appropriate time for you to come, and people were enlightened, and it's more appreciative of what happens here, that they were not aware of those, but aren't keenly aware of stuff that happened today.
aren't going through the meetings monthly with us.
This is maybe totally irrelevant or whatever, but just listening to this, I'm thinking, too bad there can't be some way that we can just keep this out in front of the public all the time. This is what the library's done, the last 2 weeks, or this is what we did in January, or, something like that, so that the general public would know. We know what's going on, most of us, sometimes I don't. But I think it would be great if there was some way, and I don't know what it is, if there was some way we could update monthly what's been going on here, whether it's in the town crier, I don't know.
You got a comment?
Well, it's already being done because the library is able to get it. It's one of the few things that gets published in most of the papers, the calendar of events of what the programming.
Right.
So they do know what's going on because of the upcoming schedule.
Sometimes you gotta bang them more than once. The crier is strictly online now, right?
And subscription only.
Oh, and subscription
I
too.
think so.
I wonder what the readership is.
Well, I think these would be some good tasks for our communications committee. And I think these meetings are on NCTV, so we can talk that up with folks. But also, I think our slide deck that's on NCTV needs to be updated. And I think like
What did
every
you say has to be updated?
our slide.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so when you're on NCTV and they don't actually have a program going, they have other things going in. And I think that we're up against the same thing there as many people are everywhere else. Every once in a while, I'll see a slide that says, the library is due to walk-in traffic due to COVID. And I'm like, okay, somebody didn't pull that, but I know that we've made several requests. So it's just a matter of who and where you're getting that, but it would help if maybe part of the communications committee, we have the updated slides. Here's the batch for this month. Here's what comes out. And maybe show them a picture of what we want to come out if we have that. And I don't know what we have going back and forth, but I know that we've reached out to say, you don't have to put anything new in, just take these out because that information is no longer correct. So that kind of thing could be helpful in terms of getting the information out over and over again. I did see something from a Rhode Island library, and they sent out just like the little task books of, it's almost like we visited 5 schools and have, 90 new cards. So it doesn't have to be a huge blurb. It doesn't have to be a paragraph or anything else, but that could be, reach out, libraries and schools working together. The library went here and it resulted in, 90 cards. That could be that could be a slide that.
Maybe a little column that said, did you know?
We had those little bookmarks and stuff. But again, we're trying to get out. It's nice to put that on the front door where people are coming in and going out and they see that, but we really need to reach all the people that don't walk in and out that front door. We need to
Social
reach.
media, I mean, I
Yes,
think social
yes.
media, like, something you said, like, I'm just gonna throw out what I was gonna tell you after you were done, is my mom brought my daughter to story time this morning, for the first time. And, she said it was really a great turnout, for a Monday, on a cold Monday.
Yeah.
So I think there was maybe 10, maybe more, 10 kids there, at least, just for the story hour for the 1-year-olds, you know what I mean? And so something like that, great turnout, and that would be posted on the Facebook page, or, you know what I mean?
It's a great idea.
I don't know, I think what people sometimes don't realize is that managing social media is a lot of work.
It is.
You know what I mean? And it's so it used to be just add this onto someone's job, and now it's really becoming the entire job.
Right.
So I don't know what the capacity is here to do that, but
We do have somebody who does the bulk of our social media, but we also have pieces sort of farmed out, like children's does theirs. We have somebody down here that does most of the adult and teen, but a lot of times you get into putting programs on, or the library hours have changed, or whatever. So that's kind of a good thing to think
We
about.
really
We're
have
just,
2 audiences, if you will, and I'm putting them in the big audience
Yeah.
bucket. Library users and people that live in town.
because you have to like the library page in order to see the updates. And
Yes.
if people aren't liking the library page, then they're not gonna see the updates.
Right.
their Instagram is a pretty successful platform for us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been growing in the past couple of years, but yeah, that's a good suggestion.
But that is the thing, we need to let the people know that use the library on a regular basis, what's going on, but we also have to get that word out to others. I know since the pandemic, I did a lot of digital media. So I don't see the things that are posted, I don't see the little kids coming in, well, I never did anyways, because I'm a nighttime person, but I don't get to see all of that going on, so if it wasn't on the social media, if it's not someplace else, I don't see it. So again, we have 2 audiences. We have those people that we want to encourage to become library users. And then we have the library users that we want to keep involved.
This is a question born of ignorance, because I'm really not social media savvy. Do a little bit of it, but enough to just be dangerous. There are pages that are dedicated to Newington. And they have different names, what's happening in Newington and all these other things. That can we, as a library, as a town building, downtown facility, can we can we be on that page? Because that would
We're talking about
address,
Facebook.
yeah, on Facebook.
Yeah,
The reason I'm asking is because that addresses the different audience you're talking about. The people who aren't necessarily library users, they're people in town.
so that's something we could revisit. In the past, the feeling or directive has kind of been have your own social media, and not sort of be putting things out on all. There's probably, I don't know what you think, there's probably 10, at least 10 like Newington pages. So that is been sort of a directive, that we probably received years ago.
And there's no
and-
real control there either, so.
There
depending on, the political climate at the
Yeah.
time of what's going on, then again.
I was thinking long, and I understand some are much more politically active than others in terms of comments. But, like, there's something called Buy Nothing.
Yes,
Newington, which we are buying nothing. You know, that you might have an exposure to people who are out there looking for what's out there in terms of acquiring something, but if they see maybe a program or something that happened at the library, like this morning's program or whatever, that might turn around and say, oh gee, I can put that in my little
yeah,
mental Rolodex as to this is something that I might want to go find more out about.
I think some of the groups have rules as far as how often you can advertise and advertise even a town. Like even a town program, it sounds kind of silly, like, you know, but they do, I don't know what the rules are for that though, I know that they say like we can post once a month or something like that. So I'm not sure what the rules are for that, we could advertise.
Well, that's what you have.
another issue is with that is if you're posting, a lot of times people will respond, they'll ask you questions, and then they
Right,
feel like you're not very customer service oriented because you're not answering them.
right.
So like on our,
If you're posting on a different.
on a different
Right.
page, yeah, our pages, you know, will say, you know, this page is not, you know.
You're not gonna, right, there's not gonna be
Right,
engagement
right.
beyond us.
Right, but I do understand what you're saying, it's a different audience, I mean, it would be good to be able to sort of.
It's up to the administration, it sounds convoluted, but it's up to the administration, those who are running the individual sites. And they're all different, and some might exclude, because of the purpose of their particular site. I don't know about by nothing,
I
or
just-
by, you know, for Newington, but they may only want to put things that just have to do with getting things for free. Whether they would expand this, just because you gave the example, I don't know.
Right, well, like you said, I mean, I
So-
really am not terribly savvy about it, so.
I think that,
Okay,
that would
can
be
I
a
ask a
task
question?
for,
Do you know how many followers the library has on Facebook?
Yes, we do, I don't know it off the top of my head, but we do, I report on it pretty much every month.
You know, I mean, maybe you consider, it happened this week at the library.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too.
Night, you know,
Yeah,
Or
5
did you
schools
know?
visited, 90 cards were issued.
Yeah, did
Yeah.
you know, something like
Yeah.
that.
I feel so ignorant. If you're on the library's website, for instance, and if there was a banner, I don't know how often you change those, you know, schools, the, you know, coordination between the schools and the library, 90 new cards were issued this week or something. Is there something that says link to Facebook for more detail or to comment?
so we could, Lisa actually does most of the banners on the homepage and she changes them often. So that's actually a good idea. I mean, that is a place where we could put something and say something like that. And the links to the social media are right on the front page. They're like buttons right across the,
Because that's where folks would comment
yeah.
in Facebook, not on the website.
There's 1.9 people that have liked it,
Liked
sorry, like 1,009, I think it's a rough estimate, I think they don't do the full, you probably have,
No,
the-
2000.
We have the,
yeah, but almost 2,000 likes. Which is people that are then following it.
so that's a good thing, I think for the communications committee to pick up and try to run with or work with, how do we get that information out, that's a little different. Karen, I'll let you go back to your report, sorry.
okay, just quickly to mention that the staff at the Board of Education reached out to us to talk about a few issues that they have encountered regarding parents objecting to materials in the school libraries. They
Oh, in the school library.
yes, so they have not had anything formal occur, but they have had something like, you know, this particular book doesn't belong here at this level, but belongs at another level. And so they had actually a conversation with Bailey Francis, our head of children's, about some of, kind of what we're doing. And I don't think I have. You all know, you're all familiar with our process and all of that, so we share that with them, but I'm just mentioning it just so you know that it, I mean, it is problematic and we're seeing more and more of it. We're hearing from other libraries, we're constantly seeing posts. And again, nothing necessarily formal, yet, but there are conversations that are being had and parents that are, objecting.
Have you, I'm trying to think of a way to put this politely. Can you say to them, how would you like us to change? Do you have any suggestions you would like to give us?
But don't we have a policy? in
We
place
have a
already?
policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a
So
policy.
then can you remind them
And
of
it's
that?
great.
I think the Board of Ed is looking for their school libraries to find out how we handle
Okay.
Yeah.
that type
Okay.
of a request or
right.
suggestion from parents.
Mhm.
So we're sharing the information of how
Okay.
we handle it, and they're seeing
Yeah.
what they're
It's an
doing, and they're
innocent
using
question.
daily as
And
a
yeah.
sounding board
Yeah.
for what is or isn't appropriate
Right.
at certain age levels, so.
And I would think that the school libraries certainly have a different governance than a
Yes.
public or private library
Yeah.
with the library bill of rights and everything.
Yeah,
It's
we
a
the
whole
school board
different
have something to do with
ballgame.
Yeah, with the state charters and.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, well, there was some pushback, but there's a policy in place, so we are ready. They're probably responding.
Mhm.
So it's a reactive type of
Yeah.
thing rather than proactive.
Well, also too, what I've seen is that it might be an informal comment, but when you say, I would like you to formally submit a complaint, they usually don't.
Yeah, right, you're right.
Yeah,
So having that process is
Yeah.
good, because then maybe people step back and think, oh, okay, this actually isn't as.
As bad as
Right.
it.
Yeah.
and
right.
having a conversation,
Yeah.
a lot of times I think if you're really explaining sort of the process and, why something is in the library and why it's where it is, people tend to be okay with it, they maybe just kind of want to be heard. At least that's so far been our experience, but. I just wanted to mention that the Winterfest tickets are on sale. If you're planning on attending, they are going fast. I think we have maybe an hour ago, we had 37 tickets. So if
That?
yes, yes. So if you want
It's very
one,
limited, it's very limited this year because of COVID restrictions.
How many
and sizes.
tickets were available? I know you said this last time.
150.
150.
So you got
And you're-
37
Oh,
left.
wow, that's great.
yeah.
That's good.
So anyway, they are being sold at the reference desk.
Oh, gotta stop.
And maybe this is a question for Natalie. 150 ticket limit, so. If I want to buy a ticket and I'm 151, will they just accept a donation? And not issue a ticket?
I would assume so, but Natalie can speak to that when it's.
You think I know the answer to that? Could you repeat that question? Because I wasn't sure I understood everything you said.
Before we get to friends, let's let Karen finish her.
I
report.
promise I'm almost done here. I just wanted to mention that we had held our first hands-on technology class with the new laptops that were funded from the Friends. Thank you, Friends. And it probably was the first time in 5 years, and it was great. We had a small group, but it was nice to be able to get back to that. And Children's Department has started their preschool and daycare visits now on a rotating basis. And that is with the funds for the vans that was provided by the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, Newington Greater Together Community Fund. So we have not had vans here in, I can't remember what Lisa said last time, maybe 7 years. It's been a long time. So it's pretty exciting.
Do we have
Um,
billing or anything for that yet?
no,
Because I don't have even set up for that.
no. I'll follow up with you, Leanne.
Okay.
And then Sunday hours began. This was our first Sunday. It was little quiet, but we kind of expected that, you know, people are just kind of learning that we're open, but it's nice to be open again. And thank you.
And could you repeat what the hours are for Sunday?
1 to 4.
Great, thank you. Any questions left for Karen, or did we get them all out in the middle of her report? No, anything online? I don't see any hands up. Okay, next is Friends of the Library with Natalie Hardison. Natalie?
Well, I'm gonna do it in kind of date order. Our book sale was in October. And we grossed over $10,000. I don't know what the expenses have been yet. It's close to 10,500 for the grossing, but that was, I thought it was amazing considering how little stock was at the sale compared to usual years. When I left after setup on Friday, it looked like a typical Saturday afternoon after we'd had gone through the preview and all day Saturday. There were no boxes on the floor, and anybody who's visited our book sales know there's usually tons of boxes on the floor. So to make that kind of money with that type of situation, I guess one of the compliments is we sorted really well. We were trying not to make sure we kept only the best of the best rather than letting other stuff go in. So maybe that's actually worked. The next thing the Friends did was election day, the library card sign up at the polls. We did a different school this year. It's the Anna Reynolds district, but their voting was at the town hall. So so that we were actually at the town hall. I believe it was Chafee and Patterson or Chafee and Wallace. I'm not quite sure which. And I guess there were, I heard there were 71 completed library card applications, and that there were an additional 30 or so handed out for them to take home and just bring to the library. And there's also some Friends applications went out too, which was nice. So we can try to get some more members into the Friends. The next thing I was going to tell you about is Winterfest, and I was going to say our tickets are almost all sold out. With a limit of 150 tickets, and we're not selling any at the door. Get your tickets now. I haven't even advertised it on Facebook. I'm almost afraid to. Because I didn't want a rush. I mean, when I got told at our meeting last week, it was, we're almost sold out. And I said, if we're almost sold out with the big poster that's up in the library, I don't really want to put it on Facebook. And what I do when I do Facebook, I usually do my slide, my picture slide, and then I share it to the What's Happening in Newington page. And because for whatever programs or whatever stuff is going, so that they've got 3,000 followers in town or something like that. So I figured we're definitely hitting a bigger audience if I do that. So far, I have not been yelled at for doing that. I don't do it daily, obviously, and I don't even do it weekly. But that is one way that I do. And quite often I have not got back into, this isn't really Friends, this is Facebook, but I used to take the electronic signs and turn them into slides for Facebook. And I would share more often with those onto What's Happening in Newington. It would be more of the programming rather than just book sale and stuff like that. So that may pick up again if I ever remember to bring a flash drive to the library and get that electronic, the electronic board transferred to a flash drive. But I don't know, the question that was raised about being 151, I'm not quite sure. We'll always take donations.
Well, I guess my question is, obviously you always take donations, but can it, you know how we have our different pots where money goes, would it be put into a Winterfest?
And into the gross that we make for Winterfest?
Yeah.
That would have to be how the treasurer decides how to handle the fund. If it's labeled Winterfest, it would probably go into Winterfest. I will tell you that volunteers aren't in the 150 limited tickets. And we're gonna have a reduced price for our tickets for being volunteers. So that if you want to volunteer to work that night, it's cheaper to come in and you got a better chance of doing it. Because we're figuring there's probably gonna be about 50 people behind the scenes with all the beverage people and the volunteers, which puts 200 people up in the library. Which is why we limited it to 150.
I was just thinking in terms of, an overflow monetarily, not the people overflow. So that when you're planning your next affair, it's like, we really need a different space maybe, or a different venue, because, how many people have we had in the past? 300?
We've gone up to about 330. I want to say, and that's not even counting all the volunteers.
So
I
that's a
think
big,
we were, don't tell the fire marshal, but we
Yeah,
were over
no.
limit of the library.
Yeah,
that's a big difference in
that's over the capacity.
your profit.
Yeah. This is definitely a downscaled Winterfest. The refreshments are downscaled. The nobody better come it's all light refreshments. Nobody can come expecting a dinner. And some of the last couple of years, I think people thought they were getting dinner. So that there's going to be fewer baskets. We're having a limit of 15 teacup auction baskets. It's going to be a smaller silent auction. It's going to be a downscaled event, just because.
And I think the trickiest thing is that we will have to turn people away at the door. If they're used to being able to come up and buy their tickets, oh, I just saw this thing, I'll just go and buy a ticket at the door. That's gonna be the tricky thing. And
I don't think that's happened really that's in the last couple of years, because they have sold out.
Actually, it has happened that people have come up and asking tickets at the door, and it had to be explained that they couldn't buy tickets.
Natalie, I have a question for you. With the idea of having fewer baskets, is the logic behind it that you have fewer baskets will drive up what people will bid on the baskets to maybe you will end up making more money with the fewer baskets?
One of the reasons we're doing fewer baskets is because we had too many baskets the last couple of years, and drawing the numbers for it just dragged and dragged and dragged. Even if this wasn't a limited, a downscaled Winterfest, we probably would have a limit on the baskets, because it just seems like, and we're trying very hard to have each basket planned so that each basket is kind of like at the same value. Rather than one that's worth, somebody made a basket that's worth $150 and somebody made a basket that's actually only worth, like $25, $30. And that's happened. So that, but I think some of it is spacing. The fewer baskets, and you can have them farther apart so people don't have to be right on top of each other. That was one of the considerations. The other, and one of the big considerations was not having to stand there for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes pulling numbers. There's going to be only 3 door prizes this year. And in the past, there's been multiple. But we're definitely limiting it to only 3 door prizes. So we're trying to do it so that it's still going to be fun, but it's also safe. And we don't want anybody to get sick.
You can talk about it.
Well, Natalie, a few of us met before the meeting. We've talked previously about the quilts that we have available, that the board is going to provide. Considering the downsizing aspect of it, we're figuring that we have 3, but perhaps 1 quilt this time around with accompanying items.
Yeah,
And then-
I think we were going to talk to you about that also, because the quilt's going in the silent auction. We've already talked about it, and somebody was going to talk to you about only doing 1 this time. But I didn't make the last committee meeting, so I don't know.
All right, so at this point, I think what we're gonna do is probably the child's quilt with, maybe the books that go with it, and a stuffed unicorn. It's a child's themed quilt, twin
Yeah.
size.
All we're
So-
gonna need to have is a list of everything that's included so it can go on the description.
Okay. All right,
And stuff is being stored at Terry Begansky's house, so if you need to donate it now instead of after Christmas, then we can probably make arrangements to have it stored.
well, we can do it after Christmas. It's not a matter of storage. I just didn't know what your expectations were.
No, we were talking about it. We thought it would, we think that one quilt would probably, you don't want to oversaturate the market either. I mean, we just thought one quilt was probably what we needed to do for this. I thought, there's gonna be a Foxwoods, weekend, in the silent auction. So it's just, things that, we're trying to make it, I don't know, we're just trying to make it more, kind of simplified, but also pull out the stuff that we think is gonna bring in the most money.
Okay. And then, you probably haven't gone any further, but you're looking into the Anita Wilson Memorial Concert?
Yeah, that one definitely got decided to do, we're doing it in the spring. I was really hoping to do it in February near her birthday, but that didn't work. And I just found out about a group called Ben Anna. It's a combination of a person named Ben and a person named Anna, and their theme are bananas. They're gonna be at Mystic Seaport, and I got an email about them today, so I sent that information on to Bailey, because it looks like a really good family orientated concert. But if she doesn't want it, I would recommend looking into it for the Hanel concert. Because I think that would be they try to be very inclusive, and they're used to doing things with mentally challenged as well as physically challenged people, and they get people involved in their music. So,
Good, I want the Friends group and the Hanel group to kind of work together. When you're getting close to some kind of a booking date, just to make sure you're not stepping on each other's toes, or you're not having something Saturday and somebody else is having it Sunday.
Yep.
So
No,
that
we want the same thing.
right, so just a heads up on that. If you're thinking about the June timeframe, because I know Hanel usually has an event around that. Not always, but usually.
It all depends on when they decide that it's okay to do.
Well, and when the artists are available, so I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of moving parts to that, so thank you. Anything else for Friends? Or for Natalie? No?
Thank you. Thanks for a successful book sale.
It really
Oh,
was.
actually, there's one more piece of news I should tell you. The month of October, the Friends Corner made $437. And that's
There you go.
pretty amazing too. So Nora Bessel took over the Friends Corner, and she's been increasing what's for sale and stuff like that, and she's really making a lot of money for the
How about
Friends.
membership?
The membership letter is on its way out soon, because we have found that people don't renew when they only get a email reminder that their membership is up. They just ignore the email. So we're actually doing a mailing to everybody that hasn't renewed their membership. And that's about 300 people right now. So, but we wouldn't need book sales if we had everybody who loves the library be a member. It would make the same amount of money. I mean, we could probably cut it down to one book sale a year. But that's supposed to be one of our goals this year, is to do membership and increase it. So I just lost your picture. And I can't hear you.
Dan, I think you're muted.
Okay, how about now?
So I don't know if you guys can hear. us
Now I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Great, thank you, Scott, thank you, Natalie. So we had a little bit of technical difficulty where our connection dropped and we are now back up. So, we're sorry for that. I think the, short, quick answer is that, Friends did a recent mailing for membership. And, if you have stopped getting your footprints or if you stopped getting your mailings, or if you notice in your checking account that you usually write a check and you haven't, you might want to check into that. It's a little,
Oh, yeah,
we're
no,
missing the mailings
we could talk about that at the last meeting. Because there have been some mixed up.
in the mailings, yeah. So that's coming out again, but, you know, can always sign up again.
You can always just increase your membership too. Go up another level.
Go up for a little bit. All right, any other questions for Natalie on Friends? I don't see any here, I don't see any online. Okay, we'll move into committee reports, budget. I'm gonna look at Karen, do we have a schedule yet for the budget?
We haven't received anything.
What's James thinking?
He might be busy.
Just
We-
became
we
official, but it
expect it.
starts in 2
Yeah.
weeks, I don't know why we don't have that schedule.
Let me know what you need, since I'm now supposedly chair of that.
That's right.
I just saw your name on the list.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
We should be getting something anytime.
Okay, so just let us know what's going on with that. PEP is Pauline and she's not here, but I expect that she will be calling a meeting very soon, and the newer members of our board, Scott, you would be on PEP, and Fiona, you would definitely be on PEP along with some of the others that are on that sheet.
You dropped out again.
Dan, we lost you again.
But things picked up a bit in October. Overall for the year, we've had some losses, but if you want to take the percentage on the market, we are still holding our own. Also, keeping in mind that the library invests as an organization for the long haul. It's not like looking at your retirement. So, I think we're in a pretty good place considering where we are for the market. Certainly it's not pleasant to open the envelope, but we're in good shape, and I have a great deal of confidence in Kingston and Wealth Management, our advisors as well as the accounting firm that's affiliated with them. They've done a good job by us, and Dean has more of a personal interest in the library than just somebody we hired. He's very much a supporter of the library, so I think we're in a good place there.
Great, thank you. Any questions on investment or anything that you want to bring up this time? Online, in the room now. Thank you. House Committee. This is the time of year where we do our annual walkthrough, and whether you're on the House Committee or not, you are welcome to come to the walkthrough. It is this Saturday. Stay healthy. It is this Saturday morning at 9 a.m. and we start earlier than the library is actually open. So I ask that if you're coming to the walkthrough, come a little bit before 9, because pretty much by 9:05, we're gonna leave the area by the doors where you would get in, and because the library is not open, you're not getting in unless you're knocking loud enough on the windows for somebody here.
And you're coming from staff action. Right?
No, it was, I talked about the fact that we were planning a date, and it was on the agenda. November 19th at 9 AM, House Committee walkthrough. So, everyone is welcome. For those of you who haven't done it before, we start the walkthrough when the library is closed, so we can get the public areas out of the way first, and then we continue through. Depending on how many questions or how many things are going on. We're usually done by 11:30. We'll do a quick tour on the outside and make sure that things are looking good there for the winter, see anything that's coming up that we want to talk about or put in work requests for as that goes through. And then we're out. I don't know what's going to happen with the renovations or the repair work that's going on. So it could take longer, could take a little bit shorter as we go through and see those areas, but that's usually what happens. We make the spreadsheet that you saw towards the end of last year of things that we want to accomplish and whose responsibility it is. Would it be a board expense? Would it be something that library staff can do? Would it be something that we fill out a work order with the town? So that's what we're trying to do there.
Do you need an RSVP, Diane?
If you're going to come,
I'm planning to come.
great, yeah. So I
Bargaining.
like to know because
I don't know.
if I hear that, 4 or 5 people are coming and there's only 3 people, I'll wait for a little bit. But if I hear that
Yeah,
4 or
no,
5 people are interested and there's 6 people there,
And we come in through the staff entrance.
yeah, we
Oh,
come in with
yeah.
staff. And so-
I doubt that I'll be there.
Okay,
I'll be there then.
I'm not meeting an electrician in the morning.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
all right. Anyone else want to RSVP now? No? You can send me an email. Thank you. We will give that spreadsheet out when it's done. And have monthly updates on that. As that goes through. And that's all I really have on House Committee right now. We do have some things that will carry over. Some things are wannabe things, so the the window treatments. Yes. And some things are new things like they're new old things like the leaks that are being repaired. That could be a good thing. Yes, yes. As that goes through. Okay, that's what I have for House, unless anybody has questions or thoughts or points. Okay,
It's gonna be cold, so dress warmly for the outside.
we do try to get it in before the bad weather. Of course, this weekend it could have been 70 or 30. Right?
Yeah, right, but it's gonna be cold this weekend.
Yeah, but the snow and rain will be gone, so
Oh, yeah.
we'll be good. Wear comfortable shoes for going outside. Next up would be facility insight with Maureen.
Okay. I know Anna had used a term and I have to agree with her. It feels like we're all stuck in the mud. We are going to be moving forward. We have good bones in place with the report and then the revisions to the report. What I'd like to do, I had a nice conversation with Leslie. Unfortunately, we haven't heard from Andrew about the lookbook,
Yeah,
but she's going to prod him.
I've been telling everybody we're getting it, so we're gonna get it.
Oh, no, we're getting it. So she's going to prod him. I think we'll get it sooner than later. And what she suggested and we discussed, and I think and we had discussed it amongst ourselves before, is that hopefully between now and the new year, that whomever the designated people are, and it could be every single one of the board members or just people who feel more comfortable, meet one-on-one with the town councilors. Just, it's not a huge long meeting, just to say, this is what we have in place so far. It's still a work in progress, but we're really excited and we'd like you to have a first glance at it. And hopefully that lookbook would be
I think that's key.
available at the time. So I really think that's something that we need to do. And I promise in the next couple of days, I'll send an email to everybody. It would be a committee thing, but the board is really involved to put this, you know, to meet and get this, put this together. It's gonna require a little bit of effort because you have to, you know, the town councilors work for a living, for the most
And
part,
volunteer full time.
and volunteer full-time. So, you know, getting in touch with them and finding time. Not just on their end, but then the board members end.
Mhm.
So I think that that's, I know that the board, the council is aware of our efforts and our interests in expansion. So I think this would be a good thing to meet one on one, if not with everybody, with as many people as we can. The other thing, and this was brought up earlier, when you questioned Dave about the building committee. As long as nothing formal has been put in place yet with the new folks, I will get in touch with Newell and ask if he would call a meeting. So, you know, we could meet as a group. Newell is aware of what we're doing, but has no detail. And then maybe, depending on the time frame, have the old committee present to the council and to the town about
See if Laurel's still
needs.
available. See if Laurel is still available. 'Cause she went
Yeah.
down.
She concerned, she's, no,
Well, she
where she was.
She was already before she
Right.
became a board member. So she is still on the committee. We'll have to see her availability. But, you know, reach out to Newell first. He's the one that would need to
Yes.
call the meeting. And is she, you know, I mean,
Yes, because we had an empty space when Steve still.
with Steve Silver, so it's you and me, Laurel,
And then
Newell,
the council
and
representatives.
the council.
Well, who, there's the council people and then Lisa and then I would show up.
Mhm. Who was the council?
I think it's still me, but that's from.
Yeah, but
which is-
Dave-
Yeah,
Dave is
yeah, we
appointed,
didn't
right?
fire.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when I looked on the town website, I think Kim has been shuffled into that position. Because they replaced Democrat and Republican. I think Kim Rod is the other person now who's been assigned to that committee, because they still had to shuffle people in from the liaisons.
Okay, well,
I mentioned, since you're talking about meeting with the council, the entire council cannot meet unless for transparency and regulations, unless the public is able to view it. We can't have, we used to have, meetings once a year that were like, I can't think of the word.
free for all.
Yeah, we were, no, well, more or less that, to be able to meet hash things over retreat. But we no longer can do those kinds of meetings according to statute, or at least we've been told that we can't. And the public has to be there, it has to be a formal meeting if we all meet.
But if we want to approach individual counselors, we can do that.
As long as it isn't all at the same time.
Right, so,
I didn't know whether you meant that or not, but
no,
I.
not a, no, this
We
wouldn't be
appreciate
a
that,
formal
but it
presentation.
could have kind of be like, hey, you know, Dave, hey, Beth, hey, Tim, hey, you know,
Yeah.
whoever. We've got this lookbook. I want to give you a quick glance at, you know, kind of hinted at it. I want to give you a quick glance of what's going on. And again, these are how we're imagining it. And the way I said it to friends before is, I really loved the first drawing that came out. But if, after this is built in 2025, when it's
That's a
done, we have our.
I have no problem with it, it's just a matter of thinking of the whole council
No.
looking at this
But-
outside of it.
Conceptual, just to kind of allow folks to see what it could be. And
Yeah.
it's not just gonna be another row of bricks that fills in the parking lot.
Right.
What could it be? What kind of services, what kind of areas could we have? How are we going to meet the things that we've determined are needed in the area? So it's,
And to reinforce that this is something serious, that it's a project, it's a program that's in place.
yeah,
and it
we're putting
needs to
time and
move
money
forward.
into it. It's just.
Yeah.
And I think you had your hand up, Anna.
I do, I have a question for Maureen. I thought one of the meetings we talked about asking LDS to upgrade the drawings.
Well, that's
Architectural
something that,
drawings,
yeah,
Update them.
Andrew,
yeah,
our Andrew, Andy Brecker,
yeah,
to Andrew Berman, the architect.
yeah,
That he would need to update his renderings per all of the suggestions that we've given recently,
okay,
because there were some that were changes. So that would be, but that may be irrespective of the lookbook, because the lookbook, again, is not an etched in stone thing. That's again, this is what we would like. Now, if any of you looked at the Princeton lookbook, they actually had the blueprints included in that, as well as the pretty stuff. So,
And so I just want to again say, this is a conceptual
right,
look. This is not what we're actually
I'm not
doing.
asking about the lookbook, I'm asking about the.
yeah, Andrew,
Right.
Andrew
And
does
that's
need to
possible.
update his
Okay,
rendering.
and
Yeah.
that's still, this is the same Andrew who's also doing, who's also
Yes.
working on the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
so
same
Yeah.
the confusion is there's Andy Brucker on our board, and then there's Andrew Berman.
Yes. Yeah.
Who's the architect that does that, and one request from the other. The other thing that I want to remind folks is that all these revisions are time and money that the board pays to go through. So we want to collect, and then at this point, because it's conceptual, I'm not gonna worry about this corner and that corner and as we go through for the lookbook. Yes, as we go down the plan, as we get farther into it, yes. What's in the lookbook may not be what's built, right? Oh, you said you'd have an office or a conference room there, I count 12 windows, there's only 9 windows. It's not that thing, it's what could this look like? And it's not just gonna be, a big auditorium space surrounded by brick, with a couple of.
I mean, the initial drawings that he provided, that,
Yes.
is great. I mean, it would be wonderful if that's what came to be.
Well, I think it is something like that for the lookbook.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
But it's certainly eye catching.
So one more thing, and I will apologize for myself for not giving you feedback on this latest version that you requested. I've been distracted with other things, but I just had another case of COVID, so. I've got a lot of brain fog going on. Wasn't really sick, just a headache and a lot of brain fog. But did you get input from other trustees on this? No, okay.
We're all,
We're all stuck in the mud.
we're all stuck in the mud. Yes. We're stuck in the mud. Unfortunately, I can speak for myself. I did not have COVID, but I have a little COVID brain, I think.
Well, we'll get there. We're picking it up. We're pulling it together. We've got commitment states to meet. We'll just have to keep pushing forward. We've got people on the facility meetings. I do think that our board is small enough that opening up a meeting to the whole board doesn't necessarily slow things down, and it will help keep the board meetings moving quicker at the facility.
And Leslie is just delightful. She's very nice to work with.
It's easy to
You
work.
never feel like you're imposing on her time. Yeah, so that's where we're at. So I will get in touch with, my tasks are to get in touch with Newell about calling a meeting. And following up with Leslie, and then having our own meeting so we can talk about meeting one-on-one with town councilors to promote our program and our interests.
I think the one-on-one would be a good time for us to sit to, to say, oh, I've got a personal relationship with this person.
Right. I mean, not everybody has
But some of us,
Some of us do.
yes,
Right.
and those would be appropriate.
Okay, so did we have our meeting already, Dave?
Oh, yes, we did.
You said you wanted someone, Dave.
Oh, it's- I see it.
Okay. Anything else under facility and site?
Just I will ask, as I said, that I'm not gonna, or not facilities, I just back to house, I apologize. When you go for your walkthrough, I would ask that those as you go around, I have done a quick walkthrough with Lisa and Karen regarding the curtains. I have
Regarding the what?
Regarding curtains.
The drapery, we want to
Gonna
change.
do
that.
the replacements of balances. I've got counts and an estimate of cost. I would just like some input. Primarily Lisa and Karen have given me their thoughts on color, but what you think in terms of pattern and color, so we can go forward and kind of come up with something. That
Are there
area.
samples?
I don't have samples. I just like, you know, if you wanted to go with lighter or darker, because obviously the wall code is not changing.
So it's in the reading area.
There's,
Light
I have
color.
a picture here.
You see something like this, we want to replace it and make it a little bit more modern feel.
Well, I was just.
Like what we had in the line art, right?
Yeah.
Like what we had in the line
I
art.
apologize that I was not part of that. Can we just take them down altogether?
That's part of the thing, we can take them down, these have lines in them,
Right.
and
Oh,
we're
some of them
talking about a
don't.
simple fabric balance across the top
Yeah,
that
right.
softens it, but. It's
Right.
not, it's not, if, I don't know, is the line hard room open, next time you're in the library, just kind of peek through the door, look at the balance there.
Okay.
The children's room is a little bit more playful, but again, it's that kind of an idea, it's a small piece of, fabric that softens the window look. It's not anything big, it's not anything formal.
Okay.
Or constructive.
Like that, I'm trying to look at, so, these came with the last renovations
here
and it's really,
They're
they're beginning,
antiquated at this.
Yeah,
but more than that, they're gonna begin to disintegrate,
Right.
so.
Last time they were playing, don't touch them, they won't fall.
Appreciate it. And I can hopefully get myself in order. That was gonna be my summer project.
Yeah, so I'll get in touch with you on that when you're in town. give me a
That's
call.
funny you brought that up because I've never noticed them before until today.
And they're atrocious. Now they're atrocious. In the 80s, everything was more formal, right? To work, suited, skirted suits with little
Right.
bow ties.
We took them down at my library, and, said they were being sent to be cleaned because some people didn't like them. We were taking.
And
them.
Oh, yeah.
And then we never got back.
It just felt partly.
That's going on.
Realize I didn't say
No
that.
problem.
No problem. Long enough to become.
We'll work on that. So fund development, Anna Eddie, unless let me look quickly online, I don't see any questions or hands raised, so, Anna Eddie, fund development?
Sure, I apologize for my phone ringing before I forgot to turn the volume down, and it happened to be Sharon Braverman. Is she still our liaison, or did Kim step into that?
Last I knew Sharon was.
Yeah,
but I
so-
don't know. I know Sharon is.
She
has had some
apologized.
family difficulties.
Yeah,
at the moment,
there's some
but-
family stuff going on, so she could not be here tonight. Actually, we happen to be neighbors, so
Oh, okay.
we just, we're lending a hand tomorrow. And let's see, so fund development. The flyers went out with the footnote, the flyers, the second flyer promoting the Legacy Champion concept. And so that was taken care of. We're sending out the footnotes. We have a special legacy distribution list. And the cover letter has been drafted and it's now sitting with staff to get sent out this week. And so not specifically, some of it highlights the legacy flyer, but it also highlights the people that we recognize at the annual meeting. So that was the focus in that, just it's because some of those people it's a dual purpose list, it's sponsors and legacy donors. So it reinforces the concept of supporting the library with a donation.
So what is it that staff needs to do on that? Who do we have on staff to do it? And then is that something? I can do
Lisa
Saturday
does.
afternoon?
Lisa's working on it right now, getting actually the labels prepared for us to print out. We have to do a mail merge, which we can do this week, and then you sent, I think, the most recent letter. that
Yeah.
You sent an updated.
Yeah, so this,
So
instead of
Just
this mail merge,
folding, stamping, licking, sticking.
Yeah, honestly, usually Carolyn does it. She has to.
So,
When did the,
I think it's
Footnotes.
manageable.
okay, if it's not manageable
It's
or
about-
whatever.
it's about 40.
It's 40.
it's about 40
there
letters.
were many,
Okay, nights or weekends. or something, just,
Thank you.
Reach out to the board, because it's a board mailing, so.
I just got them.
It's really, I think they've kind of gotten it down,
Yeah,
but thank you.
Well, and 40 is certainly more manageable than. You know. the
Hundreds,
whole-
yeah.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
But, we rely on you guys a lot for things, but if it's something that anyone could do in an evening, I could come by and put stickers and drop off, so.
once the letters are merged, so. Lisa has the master list. And, you know, we talk periodically of when it needs to be updated and so that's that, and she gets the letter with the mail, in a mail merge format, so she doesn't have to do anything with it.
Okay.
I have a question about footnotes.
Yes,
I get them online. Not physically. So the last footnotes I got were in October and they were the mini footnotes. So is this information, the supplemental information included in the online?
no,
No, I don't, no.
Because I'm trying to think, there was a time when we were asked, do you want to get your
Yes.
footnotes online?
Yes.
Or in the mail, and I just figured it would be more efficient to get them online, but if I'm not. Or we're not getting a full complement, I guess. I have to go back to
Because not
the
only was
paper
that, I had
copy.
this thing there,
Yeah.
this December when I
Yeah.
had done the dining program.
yeah,
That is true.
It'd be nice to get mail other than a bill, so I'll have to get back on that list.
you need to opt out of being online and request a paper copy
Yeah.
again.
I get both.
Would that be done, Natalie? Are you
Okay, well-
listening to this? Would that?
I'm
be done?
listening. I actually raised my hand to comment on this one. We have been trying for months to figure out how to send out the flyers that are in the footnotes electronically. We're working on it. I don't think we'll ever be able to do the dining partners one. I just can't conceive of how that one's gonna get done, but we have been trying because we want our book sale flyers to go out to everybody in the footnotes. But that's one of the problems with having only electronic. We haven't figured out how to do that yet.
So if I go on the Friends website. I can
It's,
opt
yeah, or if you really want something, I'm still the editor of the mini footnotes.
I think
So, you know, something from the board could go on there. I try to put the race on with the mini footnotes every year.
right. I'll figure it out. I'll find. And keep me on the mini and then I'll also.
Well, everybody who has an email address is on the mini. I just send it out to anybody with an email address, which
So
means
I don't-
about
I don't
150,
get-
200 of our members never get a mini footnotes because they don't have emails.
Okay.
But-
Who should I talk to about getting it in the mail?
Claire, oh, what's her last name? Karen, what's Claire's last name?
Thurston?
Yeah,
Claire?
she's the chair of the membership committee. So
Okay.
she could switch it over for you
All right. Well,
because she's the one who's got the access to the membership files. Well, actually, I could probably do it too, but it should go through her.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Natalie.
All right, so that was the footnotes thing, that opened up a Pandora's box. Working on the, sorry. So this is, a couple of years ago, I started using Giving Tuesday as the launching point for recruiting race sponsors for the coming year. And Giving Tuesday is at the end of this year, of this month. And so I've got something in draft. I'm working with Lisa Jones. And so she's my second pair of eyes. So actually I sent her the copy today to take a look. And it's just something that I do myself behind the scenes. I said to her that I've been very fortunate with these sponsors, because once they sign up, I mean, I might see them at the race, I might see them around town, but for the most part, it's all done by email. I mean, I do not go knocking on doors. Once we establish that relationship, they're willing to work with us virtually. And, and that's a great thing. So, I'm very appreciative of that. And, we'll just give it a go again. Great. One of the things that this year that I'm focusing on is our nonprofit status and our online, with the Legacy Society, our online donations goes through an organization called Network for Good, which is connected to GuideStar, which is that charity rating thing. And I attended a workshop on Giving Tuesday, and that was sponsored by GuideStar and another organization called Candid. And so in GuideStar, there the information that Leanne submits to the IRS gets pushed through over to GuideStar, which is how they rate you. But you can go in and add additional information, and once you start putting in these extra pieces, they give you a seal of approval. So right now, let's see, it starts at bronze and then it goes to silver. We are at silver, and we just need to do a little bit more to get to gold. So that's what I want to talk to you about offline.
A little bit more like what?
If we have an electronic copy of our filing, if we upload it, and I think that's all we need to do to get to gold at this point.
Okay, well, I haven't received it yet for this year, but last year's is in the library. I didn't know about sending it farther along.
Yeah, so we, so anyway. And the other thing, because we're at that level, there's an option for us to do a GuideStar charity check. And it provides a PDF that gives all of our essential information and, just a nice capsule.
Good housekeeping or consumer reports list of funds.
Yeah, and so when I send out the letter this year, I want to refer to that, and I don't know if it'll help, but the other thing I've been doing is increasing the information on GuideStar. So if foundations go out and they look for, say somebody's looking for a library, our information is a little bit more fulfilled. I actually put in a brief summary for the Legacy Champions, because it says what kind of programs are you running. So I put that in, and if anybody thinks there's something else that's relevant, I could do it. I was thinking about the 5K race. I don't know if that's as relevant as Legacy Champions. We're different than other nonprofits in a way. So that's what I've been doing.
Excellent.
And I think that's all of it.
No one does it better, Anna, when it comes to fund development, raising,
I've lost my
coming up with
calling.
new ideas.
If you talk to my kids, I should have been a travel agent, so.
Your next one.
Yeah.
There you go.
And multi-play. Oh, and Lisa, I should say, Lisa Jones is willing to, she confirmed today that she will help me do the follow-up with the sponsors when we get to that point after the first of the year. And so I can go on vacation and not worry about it.
That's great. So do you have that other vacation plan?
It's getting there.
Okay.
For race time, you mean?
No. After February, March.
I have to say that at the Friends meeting, they were talking about documenting all the things that they do, their big events, the Winter Fest and stuff like that, and I thought, Anna made us do that last year. Actually, Anna did it, and then we read what Anna did. Anna made us do it last year. So thank you. That worked out very well. Any questions for fund development? Possible? No? Thank you. And again, Anna, thanks. That's what keeps us going. Nominations, Maureen?
Nothing at this.
And then Communications Committee, Christine Shushin agreed to be a co-chair. So I'm looking for anyone who would also chair that, go through that. We'll see what happens. And anybody that's at all interested in helping to pull that together. The chairperson really sets up the meetings and kind of keeps things going. So I'm hoping I can convince Chris to stay on as chair. Thank you. Any questions or thoughts for Communications Committee that we haven't already covered? I think we had a couple of good ideas earlier on. Okay. Then we move into old business. And on old business is Hanel, and I know that Maureen and Anna both nicely decided or volunteered to try to put together some things for Hanel events coming up. We look for 2 events for the year.
Yeah, so I can give a little brief update. I mean, we do have some ideas. We will take the one that Natalie suggested into consideration, but it all hinges on the staff observations on timing and when we're ready to have it in-house. So until we have that piece of it squared away, we really can't reach out to anybody to see about availability or scheduling.
Yeah,
You know.
well, I agree. Right now, while we're doing all the fixing and renovations and we don't have room for the programs that are here, we don't quite. have a
And
spot.
personally, since I've been sharing with the world, I've been vaccinated, I've been boosted, and I've had COVID twice. I mean, one time, I knew about the one in May. This one, like, just completely surprised me. I got my last booster in September. And, you know, I mean, it was mild, it wasn't bad,
It's
but it's still there. I mean, just, you know.
I have a friend who's the same regimen. And unfortunately, she's medically compromised. And about a month ago, she got COVID and she was very sick.
So we still need to be careful.
We still need to be careful and
Maybe
wearing
we wanna-
masks.
I don't know if an outdoor event would be appropriate or not. I don't know if we could even pull one off if that was the case, but
Well, we've had outdoor. When was it a annual event when the Navy?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Choir sang, right? But you know, the whole problem with outdoors is weather. You know? The New England unpredictability.
yeah. So the Navy was before my time, but just a thought, I think maybe even part of the challenge now is just to come up with people in groups and things, whether or not we're scheduling them for this year.
Well, there's no shortage of performances. A couple of the groups that, you know, came through on the 80th anniversary have reached out. We're ready
Ready to come back.
You know, we loved performing there. We would love to come back. I'm sure that they're looking for work. But, yeah, certainly there is no shortage of performers out there. I mean, we just mentioned the Navy band. We haven't had them in up 10 years. I mean, it would be appropriate to bring them back.
Well, when we did the improv group during the 80th, everybody wanted them back in a month.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
a couple of the bands were, you know, that we had in were really, really good. You know, there's just no shortage. We had Wanda Houston lined up. And she was supposed to come in next and we had to, you know, drop everything. She ended up performing at the Jazz Fest this summer at Bushnell Park. And I missed it. I missed the scheduling, but so we were, you know, we were barking up the right tree by trying to bring her here. There's just no shortage. We just need to.
We need to know when we can pull it off.
Yes, exactly.
So I think, right now, with the renovations and fixing and the, the low. When do our Sunday hours end?
May.
Beginning of May, I'm not sure what the date is though.
Yeah, but that would be
And-
another date to think about, because then we might be able to do a Sunday, although I did get sick and tired of the Sundays for our 80th anniversary by the time we hit the fourth one. But, I mean, that's always an option for once or twice a year. If we have to.
For once or twice a year, would we want to consider the senior center, even if we have to pay for staff to be there to
What did the,
open it up and set it up?
what did the senior center cost? We had the whole thing now, right?
Yeah, I don't remember. It
We
was
can-
reasonable.
We can ask, yeah.
It was reasonable and I feel like
I mean, they've
Their
got a
director is
stage,
very
the stage is
open.
open
Yeah.
and somebody else will do that up.
Yeah, and if it's on a weekend, it doesn't,
And probably easier to do business with them than the schools.
much easier.
Yeah, the schools have their rooms already
Yeah.
reserved, I mean, and we found that very difficult to.
Although they were so nice when we went to.
They were.
Absolutely.
Marcella.
Absolutely, but they've got so many things going
Yeah,
on, between their winter concerts and their summer concerts and their players, school programs and plays that. You can understand. Okay, very good. Race recap,
Yeah, so I just passed around this. With a sheet of paper, and I apologize for not passing around earlier, but this idea came from Andy Sprecher.
okay, so, give it a brief overview, because people online
will.
can't see it.
I will. So Andy attended the Dublin Marathon. And so he started chit chatting with people and he's not a runner, so he's not familiar with what other runners do. And he noticed that they, he came up with a bunch of ideas. Some of them just won't work for us, but the one that I think that would is he's calling it, and I like it, a little runner sprint.
Readers, right?
A little, sorry, thank you, little reader sprint. The Hartford Marathon calls it the Kids Fit Run. So you have age groups of age 2 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 11. Some of these fun runs are run before the actual race. We could use it as a filler between when people start crossing the finish line and when we get the results, because we've got that big gap of time. It seems like a big gap of time, maybe it isn't. I don't know how long it would take to run these 3 runs, but so we would need somebody to be in charge. We need an easy course for kids. We would need a pace leader, and I was thinking the high school track coach has really been helpful and I know that some of the kids can't run because they're running track because they're competition, but maybe they could come and help this and be the pace leaders for the kids, get them to, push the 2 and 4-year-olds along, the course and get them, and you do a course that, up and back. So, and parents are within sight of their kids. It's not like they're gonna go around the block. It's just up
If
and
they're
back.
really young, could we do it on our side yard?
Yeah.
How about
or
just
use the
a
park.
no pond?
Yeah, the park is right there.
Or just. So, sometimes there's stuff in the park on the sidewalks. But
Oh, you should,
Oh, you mean the geese?
we
well-
could use the grassy area.
If we are gonna do
Yeah,
anything
markers.
formal there, then I believe that there would be a fee from Parks and Rec, so that would be something.
To use no pond?
Yes,
so we would do something where we'd have a course that goes out and back for, for the distances, which would be 100 yards, a half a mile, and a 1 mile. And, somebody who knows more about distances and how long it would take to do this, would have to organize this.
Well, speaking of someone who is on Garfield Street, if we were to run it, so that it runs from out here and up toward Maine. That might be a way of keeping the traffic issues, a lot of the traffic issues down, because then we'd be absolutely closed and there would be activity for people not to be cutting into.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable having the young kids running on the street. You know, if they're part of the big race that goes and their parents are signing them up for that and they're running next to them, that's one thing, but to have a fill-in race for the, you know, for the
Yeah,
4-year-olds, like,
Yeah, that's true too.
I'd like to see something like that on the lawn or not.
In a more secure area.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just throwing this out there, you know, if we wanna go with this. For me, as the sponsor coordinator, it would be nice to know now, because then I could come up with a new sponsor level, you know, like a one level, you know, I don't know which dollar amount, but somebody could be the kids race, the little reader sprint sponsor. So,
Couple of my thoughts off the top of my head here, ages 2 to 4, I think that's great age because they don't sign up to run anyways.
yeah,
You get to the 9 to 11, they're already doing
Yeah.
the 5K.
well, we do it, we stop at 8, I mean, it
Well,
doesn't
yeah.
matter, I'm just.
You know, or maybe we stop at 5 or whatever, I don't know what the lowest level is that we do on the street. But this could, you know, this could be for what I think of as the stroller kids, right?
Yeah,
And we could run them there or do something else like that.
we can
I
do
think
our
once they
own thing.
get to a certain age and they're, you know, they're running the race, we had, what, the youngest one was 5?
Oh, we did.
Yeah,
I think that 2 to 5 is great. I like that idea. And then coming back to that safety aspect, you're not gonna run a mile if you're 2 to 5. They can run in that. We could do that area.
well, that's, you know, we could make a track with a loop or something like that, you know, you could with cones and things, and you can control that a little bit more if you want to have some, and maybe that's the race that we do with the little ones when the real race is going on. Because that's the hard time, I think, for families and people that are just throwing out ideas. It doesn't,
Well, then parents have an option, whether if, for the parents who are running the race, pushing the strollers.
Yeah.
They can do that,
Right.
and for the parents who are just hanging around,
aunts, grandparents.
yeah. They can do the other,
Significant other is running and they are left with the kids.
yeah. Yeah,
I just think, you know, if we had a kiddie race, I like the idea of that. I like the idea of thinking in terms of if we use our side lawn. We
Well,
can
it's
set
a
it up.
sprint, if it's a 100-yard sprint too, there's really not much track. I mean, you don't have to, they're just sprinting, you know, it's like
100
one
yards,
to, yeah,
50 yards out and 50 yards
right,
back,
yeah. So there's not much setup there.
yeah.
They're not
Right, but,
running,
you know,
you know,
I'm thinking you have a couple of
Space-wise,
cones, you have,
right,
you know,
yeah.
you need a couple of people to be there to, you know, oversee it and.
Is it popular in the Hartford Marathon?
Well, they have so many.
Well, can I ask you this in terms of, are we coming back to them? That would be a whole different prize structure. Or would it just be like a participation kind of
This is
thing?
something participation, you know, I mean, you know, we would go and get some nice simple ribbons.
Yeah.
And everybody
Everybody gets.
gets a ribbon.
Everybody's. They're
But
not,
it would also potentially, you might have someone within either going out in your sponsorship app is to pay for those ribbons. And also potentially, maybe there is someone who wants to provide, the token tchotchke prize that goes to these kids.
Don't.
Yes. But no, I think it does open up another level of
Interest,
of interesting and maybe a different group of sponsors because you're going after a different demographic there.
so do the parents
the parents,
register their child?
with the fun runs,
Or no, is it just more casual?
it's more casual.
It's like advertise it, and then when you arrive, then you sign up to do
Yeah.
it if you choose, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
just get the parents to sign a waiver.
Particularly our first year, right? There's gonna be some who don't even realize it's happening until they go.
Yeah,
And is that a $5 run? $20 run? What is that?
it depends, some of them do it for free, it's just an activity, you know, and, you know, others. If you're gonna give them a T-shirt, then, you know, you charge them, if you're not giving them a T-shirt, you do it for free.
I think I'd like to try to do it for free and just give them a ribbon and a medal, and then it doesn't matter.
Well, and then we can gauge the
And then
interest.
see how, it yeah,
Yeah.
then maybe the next year, see how it.
You know, if
see
a
if it
hundred
grows.
people wanna do it, that's a whole different,
A lot of kids.
you know.
You know, just from observing the race over the years, you know, you have, one spouse who may run. And the other half is tending to children, but they come to the race. So that would be, instead of just hanging around, you know,
Right, that's why we were thinking, you know, people were thinking
like
about
a
balloons
pillar,
and the other
when
things,
the
but I
race,
think
the
this.
real race.
I like the idea of the fun run. I like it if we can get the age group and figure it out on.
I mean, we
the
could
side
just do
line.
2 to 5 and just keep it at that.
Yeah.
Or do 2 and 3-year-olds because they got shorter legs and then
Oh,
you
yeah.
learn
Some
fives.
of us never get longer.
Plus, if you have a lot of kids signing up, it might be better to choose short sprints
Right.
instead of
Yeah.
the big group, right? 'Cause they might kind of, you know.
Yeah, the
push
5-year-olds.
get much-
More differently than
Yeah,
a 2-year-old.
exactly.
Want them in front and.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's a great idea, and it,
Yeah.
and it, I personally think it would be a good thing to sell to sponsors, and
Yeah.
a fresh idea.
It's a new
Even
sponsor.
though we have those people keep coming back, that might intrigue someone to say, gee, I'd like to jump on that.
You know, look at all the people that participate in our children's programming. At that lower age
Oh,
level,
yeah.
that's an audience right there.
yeah.
Do a whole
And I-
story time about racing.
Well, and I'm wondering if we shouldn't do it, you know, right when the race goes on, because I think that's the time that you need to keep them occupied if they're waiting. And then they're racing when the others are racing. Right? Because I think afterwards, we don't know the actual timing of the post-race wait.
Right,
So if we do it, if we start it like 5 minutes or 10 minutes after the start. Down at the thing, so the families can wave the runner goodbye,
yeah.
and then 10 minutes later, we have the fun run start.
Mhm.
We run that, right, until that's done. That could be done in 2 races because we don't have a lot of people. Or we could get a couple of races going, depending on how it grows over time.
Yeah,
And then that would ideally end close to the time that the other race ends. Give them their little medals and.
Definitely worth getting some, I would say we need a group of teenagers to help manage it because it could get a little hairy.
so I could reach out to the
About
coach
solutions.
because I got his email. And see if.
Yeah, I like the 2 and 3 and the 4 and 5-year-olds, because I think by 5, sometimes they're starting down there or they can be here and if we have feedback that we want more, really, I just don't want to raise a 4-year-old against a 7-year-old.
Right.
Excellent idea, Andy.
No, this is not my idea, this is Andy.
Excellent idea, Andy.
Yeah.
Something to remind us to tell. And I like the idea that it's on the side lawn there.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, I've become a member on Fleet Feet. Because we've been buying a bunch of things there, and they do their. You know, emails now to their, I mean, everything, I'm just getting hit with it in my email basket. But here's the Rockin' Roosters Kids Room, you know, I mean, they'll send it out, so I mean, they're certainly, they're willing to do that for the nonprofit, so. It was, again, might bring a different audience. If mom and dad know that kids have something
Advertise it as
while they're running,
a family.
you know.
I just think when your grandsons were younger, Iris, you would
Yeah.
bring them over, they would have loved to do that
Oh, yeah.
for a quick thing.
Yeah.
Fiona, I keep looking at you because you're.
She'll be old enough, she'll be 2
She'll
and
be
3,
two, she'll be a-
and she'll run,
She'll run, right.
she'll win, no.
There's
There's no winning, everyone's there's no winning. Everyone's getting it.
Maybe you'll be one of the first ones finished. You don't have to say you have
Yeah.
to win.
Right, exactly. That's a good.
Depends on the child. Okay, I think that's an excellent idea, thank you to you and to Andy for bringing it up.
I just want to. I'm not seeing everything. Sponsor brochure. I just wondering what level you think that I should. the letter. Sorry, I should have been more. Oh, yeah, so we've got, so we, our platinum sponsor is intact, it's $3,000, then we have a presenting sponsor. We have a hospitality our hospitality sponsor is at $1,000. Can't remember if we, and then we have a mile marker sponsor at $750.
We have
Both
the
sponsors
platinum,
500.
did you say we have presenting?
Presenting is 2,500. So it's 3,000 for platinum, 2,500 for presenting. Finish line is 1,500. Hospitality is 1,000. Mile marker is 750. Gold is 500, and then silver is 250. And if I go to the library's website. I think we still have our. What page up there?
What are we trying to?
I want to see if we have a hospitality sponsor, and in which case, how can I? No, it's hidden,
So, yeah, it may be.
hidden.
So you want to know if we have a hospitality sponsor because,
So then we could take that level and change it to 5K,
kids run?
the kids run,
Okay,
the little reader sprint.
okay, so we don't have to decide that tonight. We can look into that, but I think adding the kids to the race is an awesome idea.
Well, I need to know within a week because I'm just working on the letters. And I have I have my little diagram that,
So we don't have the quote unquote hospitality.
so I have this document, the intention form.
Mhm.
So, I usually send that out, not that anybody sends it back, but. I mean, it gives them an overview of what their benefits are, so I like to send along.
So,
But maybe.
We could keep hospitality and add the kids run,
At 1,000?
Yeah.
Okay,
see where that gets us.
okay. I can do that.
I think that would be. I mean, I'm thinking you were thinking that $1,000 level would be something that would be added in, and then we can just say, for the first time ever, we're adding this. If we get.
Do you think that's a good, either 1,000 or 750? I mean, we get plenty of gold sponsors. Plenty of silver sponsors. And
So 750, we want to buy medals. Maybe we want to buy a little bag of goldfish, maybe we want a little juice box for them, I don't know, what are we doing for the juice box, is a good idea,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it's.
But then in that case, would we need to know how many kids we'd expect? Like, we wouldn't have an idea if they're not registering. Although we could ask when we do the pre-registration, and if.
I mean, people can pre-register, we could do a.
We could do
Do a
like an
category
interest,
that
like, are you interested? Yeah.
we could do a category, saying, pre-register for the kids K and, free entry, but just pre-register, it's not required, but
Right.
we might just get a gauge.
Yeah, that way we have an idea of how
Yeah.
much.
Because
Products
I can
are.
set up a category online that, without that fee, I mean, somebody who's 17 isn't gonna sign up for the.
So we would just want to give them like a juice box and a little snack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what you get at any race.
Think of those little, goldfish bags and stuff, and I don't know, maybe that's just too crazy, but I'm just thinking that's something that would also keep kids,
Yeah,
So I apologize for turning it into a central race meeting, but
that's okay with the timing, that works, so we'll just think about something like that, and then there are. Some of these things can be reused, redistributed, for some of the kids' programs and stuff, if they have expiration dates. Then we can, donate any overages to the library. For events. Okay, excellent idea. Right here. Okay, so that was the race recap, open board positions. I mentioned at the beginning that we do have some open positions and I encourage folks. We have some Republican town committee spots open and some corporate spots open. Also, if anybody who is a town position is interested in becoming a corporate member so that they could serve as an officer on the board, we're always looking for new blood and I'll call it a promotion from within. If you should be.
What is that entail?
So, you would just apply to the board to become a corporate member, and my feeling, and it's only my feeling at this point, but, if you've been a part of the board for a while, you've seen that the executive leadership has been the same for a long time, and every time we send something out, nobody steps up for that. So I'm hoping that we can find folks that would be willing to take a corporate position, which would allow them to step in as the treasurer, as the president, not necessarily in that order, as, as the vice president, as the secretary, just so that we could, if I can get a new treasurer.
I do that forever.
Get the treasurer to be the president.
So what it would entail, for instance, would be, stating your interest, but then you'd have to send it a letter of resignation.
Once,
To the town.
once appointed as corporate,
Yeah,
they
to the
resign
town.
as Democratic or
As the town.
Republican.
But the one difference.
Your term is shorter.
Term is shorter, and also you would be able to be an officer in some
Yeah.
capacity. That's the only difference between.
Yeah.
the two.
Right, right.
Interesting.
Right. And, my goal is to get people that are interested in becoming officers, because I think there's an awful lot to be said for an organization when you have experienced people that have been on the board, but there's even more to be said for new folks to come in and do things
Absolutely.
and come through.
Absolutely.
And we are doing, the same leadership people all the time. We are down in positions. It's not always somebody, doesn't always feel like in the first 6 months that they want to jump on and say, you know what? Next year, I'd like to be an officer, right? But with the idea that at some point you would step up to that. That's my goal, is to try and get not only more people on the board to, come in and act, but to be willing to think about officer positions.
Well, the consideration too, I mean, while we are all valuable, none of us are
Indispensable.
indispensable. Or God forbid something happens where you have to resign or you're not able to fulfill your obligations. We don't want to have these glaring holes that no one can step into. Not that you have, not that we're all just replacement parts for each other, but somebody needs to have a little bit of knowledge here.
Yeah, it needs some new blood.
Very much so. And I was told once by a very wise person who selected me to follow him on a different board, that you never take a position without fingering somebody to follow up behind you. And the person that I wanted to follow behind me is our current treasurer, because I thought that would be a nice thing. And the treasurer is a very responsible job. She's done a good job of trying, because we had a couple of changes in that position. And with her natural talents and her professional background, she really got that going and fit into a position that someday maybe we can start transitioning people through. So I'm not necessarily looking to get 4 new people, although if 4 new people were interested, I'd be open for that. But just looking to have people think, that are, and I'm also looking out on the camera, but folks that would be interested in going. So.
But also, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, if you are an officer, your focus is on your position. And then the other things you perhaps might want to do for the library becomes secondary. Whereas, it would be nice to be able to expand in another direction. But certainly not by leaving the job behind if no one's there to fulfill. That's speaking from a personal standpoint.
Okay, so we do have open positions, friends, countrymen, whatever, whoever. Can come out, that would work. New business, I didn't
I
have,
have one item.
you have one item for new business?
And this is, comes back to the friends, and I just want to make it very, quick. As I were saying, I had made a bunch of quilts back when I was homebound and insane with the COVID thing. With the idea that our board usually gives the friends $100 for the Winterfest, make a basket. I made a bunch of quilts. We decided one of them goes this year because they are having, let's not flood the market, let's do one. And I did bring the quilt today. It's a child's child's quilt. I have a stuffed unicorn, and Bailey has given me a list of books that would kind of fill that same age group, like unicorns, fairies, that type of thing. I would suggest instead of sending $100 to them, is we buy a set of books and then they have a complete set for whatever they do. I'm not exactly sure, but they're like series, so I would say probably less than $100.
Yeah.
Can I ask for the board to authorize purchase of those? So.
No, let her make the motion.
Oh, sorry.
So we can just make a motion to the clock and say, I know I'm I make a motion that the board authorizes purchase of a set of books to include in our donation to the Friends Winterfest. Not to exceed $100.
To complement.
To complement the book.
You second the motion?
Second,
Okay,
third.
I'm the so mover.
Oh, sorry about that. We need to go home. I'm tired.
All those in favor of authorizing the expenditure of that money to fill out our gift for the Friends Winterfest, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Scott, I heard that. Any opposed? Yes. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you.
I have to do it right, Iris. or the
I know you
gets
do,
all over me.
otherwise. And it will really have been my fault, but I don't get the blame, you.
Okay, public participation. I don't see anybody online. Would you confirm that? Nobody's online. Dave? Great, thank you. All right. Now, the next motion, you can make it. I need a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
Thank you, Iris. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Our next meeting is Monday, December 12th.